Died, as did 2 Red Fox kits in Ontario, Canada, who tested positive for avian flu last week. The University of Minnesota Veterinary Diagnostic Lab alerted the DNR, which monitors the health of the state's wildlife. Flood watch until midnight this afternoon. Showers, thunderstorms expected to redevelop late today and into this evening. Tommy Bernanski kits is expected to reach 75. Showers, thunderstorms this evening. We may see some areas of heavy rain and strong storms. 54. Lab eventual clearing. Partly sunny, windy tomorrow, 70. 66. Flood watch until midnight. Showers, thunderstorms expected to Sunday redevelop. Partly sunny today and into this evening. Mostly cloudy, 69 degrees. Expected 75. Showers, thunderstorms this evening. We may see some areas of heavy rain and strong storms. 54. Lab eventual clearing. Partly sunny, windy tomorrow, 70. 66. Flood watch until midnight. Showers, thunderstorms expected to Sunday redevelop. Partly sunny today and into this evening. Mostly cloudy, 69 degrees. Expected 75. Showers, thunderstorms this evening. We may see some areas of heavy rain and strong storms. 54. Lab eventual clearing. Partly sunny, windy tomorrow, 70. 66. Flood watch until midnight. Showers, thunderstorms expected to Sunday redevelop. Partly sunny today and into this evening. Mostly cloudy, 69 degrees. Expected 75. Showers, thunderstorms this evening. We may see some.
Welcome back. Afternoons Live. Again, I'm Tyler Axis, your host, and a number of things coming your way in just a little bit. I've already got questions waiting for Spencer Worth to meet, dude. I appreciate you sending those in. The 35270. That's sponsored by Audubon Meats. It's Beef Month. May, in fact, I think there's a whole declaration that was put out there. So we'll talk beef today, but we're not just. Welcome back. Afternoons Live. Again, I'm Tyler Axis, your host, and a number of things coming your way in just a little bit. I've already got questions waiting for Spencer Worth to meet, dude. I appreciate you. New Salem, North Dakota, the 3-5. Also, in this whole first hour with Audubon Meats, we're talking about it's beef. Bill Haas with the Maine Access and Wildlife Declaration that was put out there for the North Dakota Game and Fish. And we're not. We've been following along. Welcome back. Over the last year, I'm Tyler Axis, your host, about a number of things coming your way. I've already got questions waiting for Spencer Worth to meet, dude. I appreciate it. And I know it's not across the entire region. Also, I mean, heck, if you drive over the Copperstone area, you're on Highway 1. Bill Haas was the Maine Wildlife Declaration out the winter show here for the North Dakota Game and Fish. So there are still deer out there, but they're not across every region. So I'm very curious where disease across the state and already seeing at least 8,000 fewer. And I know it's not across the entire region. I know that, I mean, heck, if you drive over the Copperstone area, you're on Highway 1 to get Bill Haas to the Maine Wildlife Declaration. Some of them waited a decade for them to get one now. So there are still deer out there. I get it, but I just want to know where. And I'm sure many of you where. Is that deadline? It's fast approaching. Sometime here at the fever. Like it's not across the entire region. Also, yesterday when we had a Fargo City Commission candidate on today, we got a mayoral candidate. Some of them waited a decade or we got one now. So there are still looking out for I get it, but I just want to know where. Having a conversation and ask those questions. It's fast approaching. Sometime here at the fever, we want to go from like Jerry didn't take part in our mayoral. Also, yesterday when we had a Fargo City Commission that really big on today, we got a mayoral candidate. First that gave you that videos there. So there are also looking out for I get it, but I just want to know what. Having a conversation and ask some questions. It's fast approaching. Canada Journey Devils Lake Tourism, the ice is finally off on a lot of those take part in our mayoral. How conditions are up. Fargo City Commission that really big on today, we got a mayoral candidate. I know there's some short fishing on the doctor video of it. Also looking out for that team. A little bit. I just want to know what we're up to this conversation. It's fast approaching. It's been hot. Canada Journey Devils Lake Tourism, the ice is finally off. Got out of take part down car. How conditions are up a little bit later on. One of the things I do want to dive into a little bit later on as well is the fact that you've got, speaking of meat, a report that came out. We've been talking about up in this conversation. Prices. Talking about the Packers. All of that's been hot. Canada Journey Devils Lake Tourism. It was a month ago when COVID had things shutting down. That we had meat what are things I do want to dive into a little bit later on? That process for you. So maybe a report that came out. There was a report that came out. There was a select committee, so you could read into it if you want. That in fact it wasn't long time. You both have to hear it. But this report says at the height of the pandemic, meat processing we're closely to that process. Political appointees, the report that came out, health restrictions, keep slaughterhouses open, even as COVID-19 spread rapidly. You can read into it if you want. I'm going to summarize this report. You can go read it on your own. You really have time to go hear it. I'd encourage you if you want to learn the report. But the ins and outs, the accusations in this report, Mike Pence, there were basically the allegations report that came out, health restrictions, with the slaughterhouses, even as COVID-19 spread rapidly. Curious your thoughts on it. I'm going to summarize this report and turn the other way. Well, we had to have time to hear it. I'd encourage you. I will point out the report, but the ins and outs, the accusations, all those butcher shops that will do wherever you are, there were no process. Others are basically family owned or just got bought out. They picked up. They took grains and really tried to make sure they were able to. Curious your thoughts on it. I'm going to summarize this report and turn the other way. Well, we had to have does it bother you at all? I'd encourage you. I will point out the report, but the ins and outs, the accusations, all those butcher shops. Welcome back to that. And Spencer worked the meat too and taking all your meat-related questions on here. I'll ask those 435. They picked up. They took. And this Thursday afternoon, Camp Joe Times 215. I'm just getting started. I'm going to summarize this report the other way. Well, we had that. Does it bother you at all? I'd encourage you. I will point out the report, but the ins and outs, the accusations, all those butcher shops. Welcome back to that. And Spencer worked the meat too and taking all your meat-related questions on here. I'll ask those 435. They picked up. They took. And this Thursday afternoon, Camp Joe Times 215. I'm just getting started. I'm going to summarize this report the other way. Well, we had that. Does it bother you at all? I'd encourage you. I will point out the report, but the ins and outs, the accusations, all those butcher shops. Welcome back to that. And Spencer worked the meat too and taking all your meat-related questions on here. I'll ask those 435. Which I know us in the Southern Valley, it seems as though there's been more and more talk about, well, you might get a little bit more than what we thought earlier on. So Too Tall Tom's going to get us all the updates there. I'm not sure out in New Salem. Are you wet out there yet?
Yeah, it's a hazy, misty kind of, can't see very far, but I don't think any actual rain has fell yet. Not sure though.
In the
I
Southern
work
Valley,
indoors
it
all
seems
day,
as
so
though
I don't know.
there's indoors in a shop without talk windows. About well, you might get a little bit more than what we thought. Let's see, you want to get to the questions? 35270. They were waiting for you before I even started the show today. Tyler, ask Spencer Worth, the meat dude, when should you season a steak before throwing it on the grill?
That is a interesting question, because you're going to see, if you Google this, for instance, you're going to see 100 different answers of something that people do in their own home that they have good luck with. And actually right now there was just a video posted by the Beef Commission with Dr. Eric Berg, my old supervisor from NDSU. He calls himself the meat doctor, him and a chef from NDSCS. And that video actually goes into, on a chef's take, when to season a steak. And I pretty much agree in full with the chef, and that is his job. He's obviously better cook than I am, because that's what he does for a living. But when it comes to salt, pepper, garlic, that's kind of your base for everything. You don't need to put it on much longer than a couple minutes before you're throwing it onto heat. That the spices can start messing with the meat, can react, especially your functional ingredients like your salts and sugars, things like that can start altering textures, pulling moisture, doing different things. So if you're using a rub that's salt heavy, which that's what I use all the time, just plain salt, pepper, garlic, most of the time it's just a couple minutes right before it's going on the grill. And yeah.
As far as marinades go, I know you're not necessarily a marinade guy, but let's take that for a walk here. So, all right, you salt, pepper, garlic. You throw that on a minute before you throw it on the grill. Make sure you got the grill hot. How long do you let it sit in a marinade if you're doing that?
Depends on what kind of marinade you're using. If you're utilizing a marinade to tenderize the meat, you're going to want a longer period of time to let whatever tenderizing portion of the marinade to do its work, whether it's an acid base, an enzyme base, whatever you're using. Those are probably the big two ones. The dairy base, whatever, you got to give it time to tenderize. So we're talking multiple hours, if not overnight. If you're just marinating it to add flavor, that's something that can be a lot shorter, because meat will take in flavor relatively quick. So we're probably cutting that down to even an hour or two. If you're one of those at-home cooks who buys the pre-made stuff, most of them come with instructions for the best use with that product. And multiple hours. At the end of the day, what it comes down to, both on the just marinating it to add flavor, figuring out something that can be a lot shorter. Trial and error will take in flavor. What worked well, what didn't. Did it marinate too long? Did it not marinate even an hour or two? The flavors coming through. If you're one of those, meat, cooking isn't an exact science, and everything can change every time you cook. So it's kind of fun. That's what's fun about cooking in my life, at least.
I'm going to use that as the excuse next time I really cook up the meal or screw up the meal. It's not an exact science there, dear. So just bear with me. I'll get it right next time. If there is a next time. That's one thing. Every now and then you goof up so bad. You know what? You don't have to do the chore anymore of cooking. They'll just take care of that. 35270. Another one. Tyler, can you ask Spencer, are dairy cows used for steaks and hamburger? Comes in as a question.
Cows specifically, no. So the dairy industry, once those cows have, and just like any cow, whether it's a beef herd or a dairy herd, once they've reproduced or produced milk or whatever it is that they're here to do, they go into the ground beef chain. The dairy industry is unique because obviously steers can't produce milk, so steers most of the time go right into a feedlot and they're finished out. Similar to a beef animal, they take a little longer just because of genetics, but dairy steers can definitely be kept for steaks and roasts and everything like that. But if we're talking specifically cows, they're going to be going into burger, further processed meats, depending on the age of that cow. So yeah.
So since it's beef month, I have a question for myself here. And if you have a question, 35270. Have you gotten into like an egg roll phase in your life to where you can basically make it not just a traditional like Chinese egg roll, right? Not just with all the, cabbage and stuff in. But you can go to a restaurant and you can get a variety. For example, you can do like a Southwest chicken. I've seen a Philly cheesesteak, which is, if you haven't tried it, Spencer, you're missing out. But we wanted to try that at home. But when it comes to that, the actual cut of, say, a steak, I mean, what would you recommend for something like that? Even if you're just making a Philly cheesesteak and not in an egg roll form, you're just slicing it up, throwing it on, doing whatever it is. What kind of cut are you using if you want to do the entire process of, the seasoning, the cutting, all of that? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so anything like that's going to be a roast of some sort. So then you got to ask yourself, what are a certain cut of roast better at than the other, right? So if we take a roast that's coming out of the chuck roll, so just a straight up chuck roast, that's not going to create a great carving roast once you're done cooking it. So that's probably not going to be your best bet to use if you're trying to do the thinly sliced Philly cheesesteak sandwich. So then our other big options would be an arm roast, a rump roast, and a sirloin tip roast. I'd say those four are kind of the big four. There's more roasts than that, but those are kind of the big four that are pretty common. Past that chuck roast, arm roast is a great carving roast. Still got the flavor and some not as much fat content as a chuck roll or a chuck roast, but it's still got decent flavor and moisture in it. So, and it comes from the front of the animal, of course, so it's going to have that. So I'd try to find an arm roast, and if your retail shop that you go to and buy meat from doesn't have an arm roast as an option, the primal is called a clod. And that's actually the cut that I used back when I used to cater for carnivore catering there in the grad student organization in Fargo. We cooked whole clods, and it makes amazing sliced roast beef. But that's the biggest thing when you're trying to figure out what roast to use for what dish. And I get that question all the time from my customers is they always say, I just want the best roast. And I say, well, that kind of depends on how you cook and what you want your end result to be. Because if you want shredded beef, chuck roast all the way. If you want, a little leaner carving roast, then you're going to want to go to the hind end of the animal for your rumps and sirloin tips. Then that arm is kind of a middle ground. It's a good one.
Okay, so since you say it's the middle ground, the good one, that's one I'd probably go with. Tell me how I'm supposed to prepare this bad boy. I mean, is this smoker up? We season it up with all the rubs, your salt, pepper, garlics? Walk me through that in a minute time that I have left here.
Yeah, you
2
don't
minutes.
have to do you don't have to do anything too fancy. Our cooking method for the catering company was actually putting it in an oven bag and roasting it at really, really low temperatures for actually 24 hours. And when I'm saying low, I'm saying 180 to 190 oven temperature. Roasting that for 24 hours. Now, not everybody wants to cook for 24 hours, so if you got a smoker, you want to smoke it, whatever the case may be, just hit it with a dry rub, salt, pepper, garlic base. Throw it on your smoker, still low temperature, and you still want to take that product internally all the way up to about 185, right before that collagen is completely rendered down and falling apart, so you get that nice, tender, carvable roast.
All right, I'm sold. I'll give it a shot, and I'll report back next week. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
My man, Spencer, out of time this week. I always appreciate it, though. I'll let you go, and we'll chat again next Thursday, all right?
All right, bye.
All right, Spencer Wirt, the Meat Dude. That's brought to you by Audubon Meats, which I encourage you, whether you're on your way out to the lakes or if you just want to get in the rig, you want to drive east a little bit, you get on Highway 10, get on out there, and you want to hear the ribs are awesome. It's friendly employees, new ownership. Josh and Todd out there doing great work, located in the heart of Lake Country, right off Highway 10. Again, an Audubon, locally raised beef is out there. You can check out their great list of cuts. Their barbecue ribs fall off the bone tender. If that's the type of barbecue rib you want, Audubon Meats in Audubon, Minnesota is the place to go. Appreciate that. Tyler, I recommend a Filipino beef lumpia spring rolls comes in. Appreciate that recommendation. We'll get you caught up with Paul Juergens in that KFGO News Center when we come back. Rusty Halverson will get you some egg-related news. We'll talk deer hunting. Licenses, well, they're going to be down. We're going to be visiting about why and where right after this. You got it locked into KFGO. That's 790 AM, 94.1 or 104.7. And this is Afternoons Live. Stay tuned.
News and weather this hour brought to you by Ottertail Power Company, positively impacting communities they serve for more than a century.
Mostly cloudy, Fargo-Moorhead, 69 degrees. I'm Paul Juergens. Severe storms brought damaging winds, heavy rain, and tornadoes to Minnesota last night, where a storm-chasing meteorologist died in a crash that was caused by downed power lines. The wreck on I-90 in southwest Minnesota killed Martha Lianos Rodriguez of Mexico City when a car in which she was riding attempted to avoid the power lines on the interstate and was struck by a semi. 3 others in the vehicle, including a Chilean meteorologist, were injured. He says he and the other 3 weather specialists came to know each other through professional conferences and courses. Fire late last night displaced 28 people from a 12-unit multi-story apartment building at 605 11th Street South in Fargo. Flames were shooting through the roof when the first crews arrived. That was just after 11. Battalion Chief Joe Mangin says it took nearly an hour to get that fire out. The cause has not been determined.
It definitely started in that upper southeast corner of the building. That part is that's where the fire was when we got there. That's where it was poking through the eave on the balcony of that southeast apartment and then worked its way up into the upper floor.
Mangin says all the tenants evacuated safely. Firefighters did save 8 cats from the apartments. The Red Cross has been assisting those tenants with temporary lodging and other needs. A lightning strike likely started a large house fire in Detroit Lakes last evening. It was on the south side of Big Detroit Lake. Fire Chief Ryan Swanson says the home in the Timber Creek neighborhood was struck by lightning around 6. Soon after, the roof was engulfed in flames. Witnesses were able to see flames from across Big Detroit Lake as crews battled that blaze. No one was home at the time. Swanson says the threat of another lightning strike prevented the department from using its aerial truck. The home is considered a total loss. 69, this is KFGO News. .69 degrees, this is KFGO News. A former teacher at Moorhead Alternative Learning Center has been jailed on child pornography charges. 25-year-old Caleb Brush of Fargo was arrested earlier this month and is charged with 2 felonies in Cass County District Court. Police in Fargo said they were tipped off that Brush had shared a number of child porn images through the Kick app last June. Minnesota Republicans open their state convention tomorrow morning in Rochester, and the top task is to nominate a candidate for governor. KFGO News political correspondent Bill Werner.
But Hamline University political analyst David Schultz says with such a large field of candidates and
with no clear candidate going in with overwhelming support, I can see a scenario where we have no endorsement, or even if an endorsement emerges, there's going to be primary challenges.
Also making it more difficult to get an endorsement, the Republican State Convention must wrap up its business by early Saturday evening because of the next event booked at Rochester's Mayo Civic Center.
As people start working on their yards and gardens, those in parts of Minnesota are advised to watch for highly invasive jumping worms. The worms can damage the soil and gardens. They spread across several Midwestern states, including Minnesota. The University of Minnesota says jumping worms look and act differently than the European earthworms common in this part of the country. They move less like a worm and more like a snake and thrash around when they're disturbed. Because of their ability to clone themselves, just one jumping worm can start a population. Scientists say people should be cautious and know where their dirt and landscaping materials are coming from. Flood watch until midnight. Fargo-Moorhead, we expect showers and thunderstorms to develop late afternoon into tonight. Some could become severe and produce heavy rain. 75 our high, 54 the overnight low. Partly sunny, windy, 70 tomorrow for Saturday. 66, partly sunny, slight chance of light showers. Maybe showers on Sunday, partly sunny. Meteorologist Tom Szymanski's expecting 64. Mostly sunny Monday, the high near 66. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy, 69. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Get more love for, and I asked Rusty Hofferson, how would you say this word? Because I say it's lumpia. Is it lumpia? I have no idea.
Lumpia?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're the linguist of the two.
No, I don't know about that.
I can't read real good sometimes.
It looks like lumpia.
Lumpia.
Yep.
More meat than vegetables. Well, you sold me there. It ain't a meal if it doesn't have meat in it, is my go-to phrase here, Rusty. And I think
True
you're
that.
similar,
Yeah.
especially now that it's beef month. But
Yeah, May is beef month.
I know that's not why I called you in here.
Yep.
We got some other things, wheat being one. And we've talked about wheat and whether or not you're going to see more acreage this year because of the Putin war in Ukraine, the breadbasket of Eastern Europe.
That part of the world, yep.
It didn't sound like that was necessarily the case, but there's been good work done by the governing bodies, so to speak, when it comes to the wheat here in North Dakota. What's the latest you got for me?
Well, wheat prices today on the futures board rallying very, very sharply, Tyler, being led by Minneapolis spring wheat. The new crop September up 60 cents on the day, 13.11 3/4. And I talked with Tommy Grisafi, a risk management advisor with Advanced Trading, about the upside potential in the market going forward. Now, according to today's USDA numbers, Russia's recent military invasion of Ukraine significantly increasing the uncertainty of supply and demand conditions in not only that region, but the world too. And on top of that, dry weather affecting winter wheat in the South, Tyler. Abandonment for winter wheat, according to USDA's report today, could see the highest levels in Texas and Oklahoma since 2002. Now, the U.S. Drought Monitor came out earlier today. There has been some improvement in the Dakotas, but there's still dry areas, western Dakotas. If you get West River, still dryness in Montana, too. But according to NOAA Weather, North Dakota logging its second wettest April on record, according to the Drought Monitor. And precipitation in South Dakota, Montana, also above normal. On the flip side, you look further south, Kansas seeing the third driest on record, Colorado the fifth driest on record.
Feast or famine. I keep saying it every day. It feels
Correct.
like a broken record. But you either have all the rain you could handle and dream of for the entire year at once, or you get nothing.
Yeah.
And so just a terrible situation.
And really. So next hour, if you'd like, we can talk about spring wheat planting and either planting or the lack thereof.
I would like.
Okay.
I'll save that chair for you.
Okay, thank you.
If you can't wait until next hour to check out more of Rusty Halverson or Sarah Heinewerk's work, you can go to kfgo.com and just click on that agriculture tab and learn why they're both multi-award winning journalists of agriculture. CBS National News on the way. Let's talk about deer hunting in North Dakota. Application deadline is coming up really quickly. We'll keep reminding you, but I want to know where across the state that we're going to have fewer license. 8,000 is what some of the preliminary numbers are from North Dakota Game and Fish. We'll talk about that when we come back on the Thursday edition of Afternoons Live. Stick around. chronic wasting disease? What are the signs? Well, this last year we heard more about EHD and the outbreaks that were in spots across the region that hadn't necessarily been known for it before. And at the time I was worried, boy, that might impact next year's hunt. And it looks like that's going to be the case. Explain a little bit to us if you can, Bill.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So last year we did have a pretty big outbreak of EHD, and we did have it the year prior as well in the southwest part of the state, but that wasn't uncommon. We typically have EHD outbreaks there every 6-7 years when you go into a dry spell. Those midges or CMs tend to do really well, and that's what transfers that disease from animal to animal. Of course, with those drought conditions we had last year, and it persisted into the fall, and we had a really late frost. End up being a pretty significant issue this last year, and it really affected that area along the Missouri River system. And so 3C, 3B2, 3B3, those areas, along that Missouri River system really were affected. And then, to the eastern part of the state, like you said, on the northeast corner, we did hear a few reports up there as well. And so these are areas we've never had issues with EHD before, and in some portions of the state, most notably along the Missouri River, there was pretty significant die-off, enough to where we had to make some significant cuts for this next year for a deer license allocation.
Well, let's talk about that. When you talk about significant cuts, it looks like about 8,000 or so licenses, some of the preliminary numbers that I've been seeing out there. And I guess my question is it primarily in those units? You just rattled off a couple of them there. Is this focus? I guess the number of licenses that are going to be reduced, is it focused to certain areas? Is the question. It
is the southwest portion of the state, and it's white-tailed deer mostly. Our mule deer are doing well, and they just aren't affected from EHD like our white-tailed deer are. Occasionally you could have one die, but predominantly it's the white-tailed deer that we're talking about, and that's really where we had to make the cuts. And along Bismarck, right, Bismarck to South Dakota, on both sides of the river, that unit's 3C, and that unit we actually are not going to have a white-tailed deer gun season. We'll offer a few any deer tags, so you still could potentially shoot a white-tailed deer or a mule deer, but that's a big cut. Just that unit alone is, the year prior we gave out 1,150 buck tags and 1,050 doe tags. So you're talking over 2,000 less tags just in that one unit alone. And then the next unit to the north, which would be kind of the south side of Lake Sakakawea down through Bismarck, that unit we're cutting the white-tailed deer tags by 90%. So right in those couple of units right there is a big portion of our cuts.
Bill, I'm curious because a lot goes into this from North Dakota Game and Fish to determine the license. I mean, we're talking about aerial surveys, landowner feedback, hunter surveys. I know I was getting the email requested to send some feedback and other observations. I'm curious, those hunter surveys, was there a common theme out there of saying, hey, I'm not seeing as much, or, hey, we stumbled across a number of deceased deer already? Can you give us just kind of a glimmer of what you saw in those hunter surveys?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And so just for something for folks to be aware of is on our website, on our main part of our website, there's a quick link that you can click on if you ever find, dead deer or any critters that you think would be good for the department to be aware of. And so that's where a lot of these reports that we received about dead deer, and certain die-offs, we received that information through that. So then we were able to have that information along, like you said, from hunters and people are out there and they're like, man, I just don't see many deer anymore. And then we have a lot of that feedback. And then really what it came down to is people really wanted us to be on the conservative side. And we did as well, because the numbers are down so far. And it's to that point where we need to let, that herd rebound a little bit.
Well, you pretty much just answered, I think, what my last question was, is, sitting at a small town bar talking deer hunting, you got your orange on, you have people, on all sides of this, but if they didn't get their tag, then they think Game and Fish isn't doing a good enough job. But if they got their tag and they're out there and they don't see anything, then like, well, geez, there just aren't as many deer out there. So I'm curious, are people understanding? I mean, I know of those that, well, geez, I haven't pulled, I haven't gotten drawn in 10 years. Well, I get why you're frustrated, but that's not the norm. And it depends on what unit. general question: are people understanding when you have to cut back 8,000 tags?
I really do think people understand when we're talking about EHD and the significant die-off that we had in the Southwest and along this Missouri River system. When people are out there, it's very obvious the reduction in deer numbers. What I don't think people fully understand is like the eastern part of the state. Yeah, we're able to maintain a stable number of tags out there that we've had from the previous years, but it's way below what we had historically when we had a lot of CRP and more habitat landscape. And so I think we're kind of settling into that new norm on the eastern part of the state, and it's probably less than what people want. And really, it's going to take an increase in wildlife habitat out there if we want to have more deer into the future.
Well, yeah, and that's a whole topic of conversation that gets people's emotions up a little bit as well, when it comes to some of those programs that could help with some of that environment and some of the just habitat out there. Bill, I appreciate your time. Is there anything else? I know we got a deadline coming up. Remind people that want to put an application in what they need to do.
Yeah, so our deadline is June 8th. Just go on our website and apply. Should have all the information there. If you're interested in draw statistics from previous years, that information is on there too. Of course, take into consideration some of these units have reduced tag numbers, so those percentages may be different this coming year. But yeah, that should be it. Just make sure you apply and then have fall's a little ways away, but the planning starts now.
Yeah, let's have a good warm summer first. Hopefully it dries out a little bit out here, but I look forward to it. I'm going to get my application in. I'll be reminding people probably every other day here on KFGO. Bill, I appreciate your time as always. We'll chat again soon, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you take care. Bill Haas, he's with North Dakota Game and Fish. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised about the area. If it were to be to where it's across the board, I could see the outrage. But out in western North Dakota, you've heard it from landowners. You've heard it from hunters out there that you just don't see them. Now, if you're in the Cooperstown area, if you're taking Highway 1 between Valley City and, say, Lakota and that general area, you'd be questioning it because you see deer all over. But that's just not the norm this day and age. And I recall at the parts of last year hearing from you listeners up along the northern Red River Valley here saying, yeah, we found like 20 dead deer just randomly out in our field. So it's spreading. I'm understanding. Are you? 35270. You can let me know. We'll come back to that after this KFGO weather update from Too Tall Tom Szymanski. We'll wrap up the first hour of Afternoons Live right after this. 6 minutes until the top of the hour. CBS National News will get you all the latest you need to know there. We'll check back in with Paul Jurgens as well. Kicking off the next hour, Sherry Furco. She is a candidate for mayor here in Fargo. We'll get you introduced to her if you have not done so. Again, I want to encourage you. There was a debate that KFGO did host kicking off the campaign season here for these local offices, and the first one was for the mayoral office. A lot of great discussion there, but we'll ask Sherry why she's running and introduce you to her if you have not had that chance. If you have any questions, you can send those in right now to the iConsultants of North Dakota Text Club. That's at 35270, and we'll ask her those in a little bit. In the meantime, I wanted to get back into this whole meat conspiracy, right? You've seen prices, everything's going up. But you've got congressional committees that are issuing reports, saying at the height of the pandemic, meat processing industry worked closely with political appointees in the Trump administration, to basically go around any COVID-19 restrictions at those close quarters, those slaughterhouses. They wanted to keep them open. And the report issued just today says meat companies pushed to keep their plants open even though they knew workers were at high risk. And the lobbying led to health and labor officials watering down the recommendations for the industry and culminated in an executive order from President Trump that designated them as critical infrastructure. Now, at the time, because of, guys and gals got to eat, right? I didn't find anything wrong with the Trump administration saying this is critical infrastructure. This report seems to categorize it as though it was done by bumping elbows. There's, handshakes. There's a photo of Sonny Perdue and Mike Pence. And I have no idea if it's Photoshopped. I sure as hell would hope not, since it's from an official congressional report of them looking down wonderless. It's the way I would look at a platter of meat as well if it was full of ribeyes and sirloins and ribs. But I know that we're in an election year. And there is, and I hope you're sitting down for this, politicking done from some of these congressional reports as well. And my thoughts and disagreements with some of the previous administration. I think I've been abundantly clear. And sometimes you accuse me of being an even worse partisan hack than what I was at the time when I was just saying my disagreements. I think some of you are never going to change your mind, and that's okay. I appreciate you listening anyway. I understand from the worker standpoint the frustration here and the concern from safety. I do. But I don't necessarily fault this being deemed as far as the food supply and food chain. I don't deem this as anything other than critical infrastructure. Now, the only caveat to this thing, on which I can say, okay, well, did it have to be done in this way by Sonny Perdue and all of that with the lobbyists from these meat packers, which where I sit on the way they've handled things as far as this monopolistic approach that they've had over your prices, all of that. One thing that I do enjoy is the fact that over the course of the last 3 years, a number of you have found yet again that buying local, shopping local, raising local has a benefit to it as well. So even though I do deem this critical infrastructure, I agreed with that labeling, I also went to my local butcher to do a little bit more, and I continue to do so. And I hope that's one thing that you maintain doing going forward. Buy local from those butchers. I don't care if it's Audubon Meats. I certainly hope that you would go down there and check them out or anywhere else out there. But as far as this report going out, I'm taking it with the grain of salt that it is, thinking, okay, it's an election year. They're really trying to pin down something else on the previous administration. Your thoughts? You fine with it? Did you agree that it should have been critical infrastructure? 35270. I'll come back to that and so much more in the second hour of Afternoons Live. Right around the corner, CBS News on the way. We'll check in with Paul Jurgens at the KFGO News Center as well. I'm Tyler Axis. You're listening to 790 AM and 104.7 FM KFGO. 33 years ago today, May 12th, 1989, the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game released on Nintendo. And if you had to rank the most difficult, frustrating games ever created for any system, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for Nintendo has to rank up there high. It was impossible, but it kept us playing, didn't it? Also, today, Steve Winwood is 74. Now, here's a little secret. You're going to hear the music rewind from the morning crew during the Drive Time News with Jack Sunday. And Dan Michaels, who takes time and admitted today that he only selects one person whose birthday it is, he went with Billy Squire over Steve Winwood. I am fixing it for you, Doug Lear. I am fixing it for you out there, Don Haney. Dan Michaels, my apologies. Also, in 86, military action drama Top Gun, starring Tom Cruise and Kelly McGinnis, was released. Paramount Pictures. They're coming out with number 2 here in just a little bit of time. We'll tell you about that. Lionel Richie's single, Hello, Is It Me You're Looking For? Hit number 1 in 84, and the series finale, Wonder Years, in 1993. So much more coming up right after this KFGO News. We'll visit with Sherry Ferko, mayoral candidate right here in the city of Fargo. Stick around.
KFGO News, it's 3:06, 71 degrees and mostly cloudy in Fargo-Moorhead. I'm Ryan Jenke. Severe storms brought damaging winds, heavy rain, and tornadoes to Minnesota, where a storm-chasing meteorologist died in a crash that was caused by downed power lines. The wreck on Interstate 90 in southwest Minnesota killed Martha Llanos Rodriguez of Mexico City when a car in which she was riding attempted to avoid the power lines on the interstate and was struck by a semi. 3 others in the vehicle, including a Chilean meteorologist, were injured. He says he and the other 3 weather specialists came to know each other through professional conferences and courses. Fire late last night has displaced 28 people from a 12-unit multi-story apartment building at 605 11th Street South in Fargo. Flames were shooting through the roof when fire crews arrived just after 11. Initial crews hit the fire from the outside using a ladder truck, putting out the fire from the roof, and other firefighters were on the inside. Battalion Chief Joe Mangin says it took nearly an hour to get the fire out. The cause has not been determined, but Mangin says the fire started in the upper southeast corner of the building. Mangin said all renters evacuated safely, and firefighters were able to save 8 cats from the apartments. The Red Cross is assisting the tenants with temporary lodging. Fire Chief Ryan Swanson says he's pretty confident. A lightning strike started a large house fire in Detroit Lakes.
The weather obviously did kind of play a little factor in it. We tried to put our aerial up, but with high winds and then lightning, we quickly put that back down just for safety reasons. So it was a challenge.
Swanson says no one was at home at the time. A neighbor reported the fire shortly after 6 last night. Another neighbor reported most of the circuit breakers in his home tripped during the storm, more than likely from a lightning strike. The state fire marshal's office is handling the investigation. A baby fox has tested positive for bird flu in Minnesota, the first confirmed case in a wild mammal in the state. The Department of Natural Resources says the kit found in Anoka County died, as did 2 red fox kits in Ontario, Canada, who tested positive for the avian flu last week. The University of Minnesota Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory alerted the DNR, which monitors the health of the state's wildlife. The National Veterinary Services Laboratory later confirmed the positive case. A bill that changes the way craft breweries and distilleries can sell their products is headed to the Minnesota Senate. The proposal passed the House on a 85-48 vote. Representative Zach Stephenson of Coon Rapids is the sponsor.
This bill frees the growler, so it ends the absurd situation where Minnesota is the only state in the country where there are 5 breweries, the 5 largest craft breweries in the state, that can't sell anything directly to their consumers out of their tap rooms to take home.
The legislation would allow smaller breweries to sell 4 and 6 packs and craft distilleries to sell 750-milliliter bottles. Stephenson says he's optimistic about negotiations with the Senate. Taking a look at the KFGO Weather Center forecast. This afternoon, variable cloudiness and breezy, areas of showers and thunderstorms redeveloping later today or evening with a high of 75. Tonight, areas of showers and thunderstorms this evening, then clearing, windy, a low of 54. Tomorrow, partly sunny and windy with a high of 70. Currently, it is 71 degrees and mostly cloudy in Fargo-Moorhead. Ryan Janke, News Radio, KFGO.
We are a little over a month away from those June elections. So you're thinking about your commission, you're thinking about your mayor, you're thinking about the park board, school board, all that's coming up. And we've been trying to get some of these candidates on to introduce you to them if you have not had an opportunity. Here in the city of Fargo, we've had a number of people that are running for mayor. Sherry Furco is one of them, and she joins us right now here on Afternoons Live. Sherry, I appreciate your time this afternoon. How you been?
Hi, Tyler. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate this opportunity. I want to thank God for this opportunity to be a candidate for mayor, and thank you for being on your show.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time today. I know how busy these races get, especially when we're thinking about weeks instead of, well, like months. And it's right around the corner here, and I know you've hit the ground running, and your campaign very unique in this sense. You've come out on a platform that's really about the beauty of Fargo. Explain how things are going there and spreading that word.
You're right. I am wanting to see more beauty in Fargo. It's plain and simple. Beauty is needed in our public spaces, in our parking lots, in our highways, in our neighborhoods, our schools, and our commerce area. And it's to help live in harmony with the natural environment. And I have been promoting that in my debates and interviews and people I speak to. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. I'll just tell you that, Tyler.
Well, that's actually what I was going to ask, because, when I say your campaign's been unique, I meant that as a compliment, because you've brought this subject up, and I don't know that I've heard other people running for mayor talking about this specific area. And I was impressed at the KFGO debate that I was glad that you were able to attend. Even when it came to crime, when it came to a variety of things, you pointed out how if you spend some time and investment and attention to this, you can help in those areas. So it's been well received, you're saying.
It has. I think this is what Fargo needs. It's the pulse of what our city has been yearning for, is beautification projects, both in our public spaces and in our businesses, in our designs of our structures and our buildings. We need to have more creativity. That's and that's going to what beauty brings.
When it comes to development and the balance here, I think about, well, not just downtown Fargo. We spend a lot of time thinking about downtown Fargo, but when we are thinking now with this diversion going to be completed at some point in the future, all the growth down south. So you have the keys of the office, you're mayor, and you're thinking about the development being down there. How do you approach that when you have this focus in mind, saying, we want people moving here, but let's make it beautiful? What's the approach you're taking?
I want to be the mayor that increases our forestry budget to $1 million, where we can really have an impact in our urban forest in our city. And that is going to help in so many ways. It brings beauty. It brings comfort. It has well-being. It just changes your mindset.
Sherry Furco, our guest, mayor for candidate here. So let's switch gears here. Obviously, the beautification being one. One thing that's been brought up over the course of the last couple of weeks, there's people talking about drag racing, people talking about crime rates as well. And has there been an increase, or is it just being reported more? As mayor, when it comes to law enforcement, what approach do you take, Sherry?
Oh, I'm about law enforcement. I believe that well-maintained neighborhoods is going to bring peace and order. I believe also that we need to, be strategic in what we're doing. We need to look at maybe other cities and what their approach is and how they're doing to lower crime. And I've looked at Dallas, and their view is they've used hot spot policing, breaking up their whole city in different grids and finding where is the areas where is the drag racing and the speeding areas, and really have a presence there. I know that the body cams are good investments, but I don't think it replaces a presence in our community, in our neighborhood.
Very good. One of the things that comes up with a lot of people when it comes to just city government, especially in this area, is special assessments, property taxes. Curious where you stand on those and what you would like to see done. We'll start with special assessments, Sherry.
I think we need to get rid of them. It is something that has been, I think, a thorn in many people's, side, and there are ways to make those changes. I just think it's going to be some growing pains because it's not what we're used to, and we have to change the old methods of way Fargo has been doing things. There has been a white paper that has been published and is in, I think, also the City of Fargo's website that has gone through an entire analysis saying that, other cities do not have special assessments. And I think we can go that direction.
I found it interesting at the debate, Sherry, when some of these questions are posed by, our news team here about crime, about development. This seems like there's a lot of time and effort being put into white papers, but then I'm wondering what happens after the report's filed is my question, because I think you're right saying there's been studies in this and there's other examples out there. And I'm just curious, what's it going to take to get it done? To have it from that report to actually get out there and say, this is the change here. What would the change be if we're going to do away with special assessments? How would we fund some of the infrastructure is my question.
Well, that can be, it's going to take some new way of, like I say, thinking. Mm-hmm. The white paper suggests that, it's the developer that, should take the cost and the risk of the infrastructure and stop having the city absorb that cost. So, we were able to, get that tax money, and they can recoup their costs when, their units or their houses are sold. And then we don't have special assessments. They have the cost and the risk on their development because it's a part of it's a free enterprise. It's a capital. It's risk, and you have to. I think you're going to, if it's going to be something that you're really investing in, I think you're really going to think about it too, and really put your effort in. And if it's not something that you believe in, 100%, then you're going to pull back instead of the city just saying that we will, front the infrastructure cost. I just don't think we need to do that anymore.
Sherry, one of the other things I want to ask you about, because I know it's been reported, in fact, I had a candidate for the city commission in this studio yesterday talking about changing how we elect people in Fargo, not just the approval, but, we've gotten so big geographically. Like I said, I feel like so often we focus on downtown Fargo. I know there's a lot of investment, but when you've got 64th Avenue South and you've got 40th Avenue North and how many miles are in between, I know you've mentioned something about, wards before. I'm just curious. Could you explain that to us before I let you go?
A ward system we had a century ago, and there was 3 wards in Fargo. It's where you are able to have, I guess I'm going to just kind of label it, but we don't want to label it, like a city manager for a particular area. And so then those citizens can go to that person if they have, issues, complaints, or suggestions or ideas. And then, it gets, kind of laddered up to the other leadership, and is able to have leadership come to the people and the people have a voice in their neighborhoods of what they want. I see it as 7 wards in Fargo that we can establish.
Well, and I think, just again, because of that, government that's closest to you serves you best, because you know what? They actually understand what the needs are there. I think it's appealing to me. It really is. Sherry, I'm out of time. If people want to learn more about your candidacy, where would you recommend they go?
Go to Fargo for FargoMayor.com, and that is spelled out for FOR. Fargo for FargoMayor.com.
Sherry, I appreciate your time. Good luck for the rest of this campaign. I'm sure we'll be chatting again soon, all right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sherry Fargo, she's a candidate for the city of Fargo, mayor. There's a number of those people that are interested in the job, and we'll continue to get some of them on this very show to introduce them to you. I got to introduce you to some of these advertisements here. When we come back, we'll wrap up your thoughts at 35270. A number of people are sending in their thoughts on this candidate and a question about the podcast. We'll get to all that and more as Afternoon News Live rolling on this Thursday afternoon. Stick with us. think so. I really do. 35270. That's the iConsultants of North Dakota text club. Tyler, this lady seems like a very nice lady, but she's been hugging too many trees and removed from how a business functions. How is she going to plant more trees with no money coming in? How is she going to put more law enforcement on the streets if you can't recruit them here because there's no money to fund the schools? Only plants to look at trees to sit under comes in. Well, and that's one of the things when it comes to that. When I asked about the specials. Now, when it comes to new development, okay, I bet there's a lot of people nodding their heads in your vehicle, your shop, or your office right now. So, you know what? Maybe those developers could foot a little bit more of the bill. You know, that's not the way the city's been going for quite some time, though, right? Give these breaks. You have to get paid back over the course of 15 years out. You know how it all works, right? I imagine there's people out there knowing some of those developers that get some of these areas and the pretty pennies that come with it, saying they probably could put up more up front. There was a very high-profile situation about a development in a part of town that's not a new development, but it was a new project in a very established part of town. Now, when it comes to some of the older neighborhoods, I should say, established neighborhoods, don't want to offend anybody out there when it comes to you loving your part of town that's been there for a long time. I don't know how that works. I don't know what the mechanism would be because you don't necessarily have a developer there. So, again, it's a complex issue, but those new developments, I bet you there's people out there nodding their heads at least there. Get you caught up with KFGO News. We'll check back in with Rusty Offerson. He already told you what he was going to be previewing. And then we'll head on up. Devils Lake, North Dakota. Tanner Cherney, he's with Devils Lake Tourism. I saw a post on Facebook. People are having luck on there. We'll find out where and how they're getting it done next year on KFGO.
In Fargo-Moorhead, I'm Ryan Jenke. Detroit Lakes Fire Chief Ryan Swanson is confident a lightning strike started a fire that caused major damage to a home in the Timber Creek development on the south side of Big Detroit Lake. No one was home when the fire started. Firefighters responded after a neighbor reported seeing smoke coming from the home shortly after 6 last night.
Units arrived on scene. We tried to go in and start pulling some ceiling to get up into the attic space to locate the fire. Once ceiling was exposed, we realized that the entire attic void space was fully involved. Shortly thereafter, the fire did breach through the roof line, and we had to work more exterior than interior.
Swanson says firefighters were somewhat hampered by the weather, unable to use their aerial truck to get at the roof fire due to the danger from lightning. The state fire marshal's office will check to see what lightning strikes hit the area to confirm the cause. Swanson says another neighbor reported nearly all the circuit breakers in his home tripped during the storm, more than likely from a lightning strike. A former teacher at Moorhead Alternative Learning Center is jailed on child pornography charges. 25-year-old Caleb Brush of Fargo was arrested earlier this month and is charged with 2 felonies in Cass County District Court. Police in Fargo were tipped off that Brush had shared a number of child porn images through the Kick app last June. Brush is expected in court on June 2nd for a preliminary hearing. 71 degrees and mostly cloudy in Fargo. You're listening to KFGO News. .71 degrees and mostly cloudy in Fargo-Moorhead. This is KFGO News. Severe storms brought damaging winds, heavy rain, and tornadoes to Minnesota, where a storm-chasing meteorologist died in a crash that was caused by downed power lines. The wreck on Interstate 90 in southwest Minnesota killed Martha Llanos Rodriguez of Mexico City when a car she was riding attempted to avoid the power lines on the interstate and was struck by a semi. 3 others in the vehicle, including a Chilean meteorologist, were injured. He says he and the other 3 weather specialists came to know each other through professional conferences and courses. Minnesota Republicans open their state convention tomorrow morning in Rochester, and the top task is to nominate a candidate for governor. KFGO News political correspondent Bill Werner.
But Hamlin University political analyst David Schultz says with such a large field of candidates and
with no clear candidate going in with overwhelming support, I can see a scenario where we have no endorsement, or even if an endorsement emerges, there's going to be primary challenges.
Also making it more difficult to get an endorsement, the Republican State Convention must wrap up its business by early Saturday evening because of the next event booked at Rochester's Mayo Civic Center.
The Minnesota DNR is reporting that a wild fox in Anoka County tested positive for avian influenza.
This is the first confirmed case of the bird flu in a wild mammal in Minnesota. The U of M Veterinary Lab alerted state wildlife officials, and the National Veterinary Services Laboratory confirmed the positive test from a baby fox earlier this week. 2 red fox kits in Ontario, Canada, were the first wild mammals in North America to test positive last week. The DNR plans to add avian influenza to the screening process when foxes are exhibiting neurological symptoms. HPAI has affected more than 2.8 million birds in Minnesota this year.
That's KFGO's Brent Palm. As people start working in their yards and gardens, those in parts of Minnesota are advised to watch for highly invasive jumping worms. The worms can damage the soil and gardens. They have spread across several Midwestern states, including Minnesota. The University of Minnesota says jumping worms look and act differently than the European earthworms common in this part of the country. They move less like a worm and more like a snake and thrash around when they are disturbed. Because of their ability to clone themselves, just one jumping worm can start a population. Scientists say people should be cautious and know where their dirt and landscaping materials are coming from. Taking a look at the KFGO Weather Center forecast, for this afternoon, variable cloudiness and breezy, areas of showers and thunderstorms redeveloping later today or evening, a high of 75. Tonight, areas of showers and thunderstorms, then clearing, windy with a low of 54. Tomorrow, partly cloudy and windy with a high of 70. Right now, it is 71 degrees and mostly cloudy in Fargo-Moorhead. Ryan Janke, News Radio, KFGO.
Rusty Officer back in the KFGO studio, as promised.
Yes, sir.
You and I just did a little rabbit hole on Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, that was fun.
What was the collaboration that he did, or the cover?
Know. Stop, collaborate, and listen.
Oh, yeah. No, that's where I was confused.
Play that funky music.
Yeah, he did a rock album, or he started a rock career. I don't know to come back because he had a vanilla. The Ice Ice Baby he did into a rock version.
Okay. He did?
Yes.
Really? Huh.
You didn't hear about it because it wasn't very good. But I would imagine that song he did at that time instead of back when he was putting out bangers.
Yeah.
Like Vanilla Ice did in the 90s.
He did. It was a thing.
No, he's officially a one-hit wonder. I tried to make it a two-hit thing, and it's not.
Okay.
Well. Okay. It's not why I asked you in here, though. You told us last hour that USDA numbers out.
Planting numbers, top of the week, spring wheat planting, North Dakota lagging behind last year, lagging behind the 5-year average too. We talked with Brian Otteson, director of the Agronomy Seed Farm out by Castleton for NDSU, and they're waiting on the weather like many producers. Well, no more rain. You just heard the forecast from the KFGO Weather Center, and there's a chance of rain in the forecast. On the flip side, though, Brian says the winter wheat plots out at the Agronomy Seed Farm are looking pretty good, but they need a break just like everybody else.
Well, and Too Tall Tom, and we've had Greg Gust in the National Weather Service on, and they both have said this cycle seems to be with us till the end of May. And then hopefully it warms up. That's what I heard from the National Weather Service on Monday when I was visiting about the downpour we had here. At what point does it get to be too late for some of these crops?
Now, that is a point that we are going to cover more in depth. In fact, one of our friend of the show, Lance Gullison, put in a call to him, and I honestly asked him, what kind of dates are we looking at? And when it comes to prevent plant, what is the no-go option?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's probably going to be a story that we'll be covering in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, because we just can't seem to catch a break. We've been asking for rain, just not like this.
Yeah. Yep.
Rusty, I appreciate it. I expect you back here in about 30 minutes. We got audibles today.
Stop, collaborate, and listen.
We'll be listening intently for audibles. That's brought to you by Don's Car Wash. That's coming up at 4:10. You can put a smile on your car and on your face. CBS National News on the way. Tanner Cherney, he's with Devils Lake Tourism. We'll see how the fish are biting up there. I just saw a Facebook post. Looks like they're nibbling pretty good. We'll find out where right after this. Tanner, it's a Thursday. How you been?
It's been great, Tyler. It's great to catch up again. And guess what? Our docks are officially in for the season.
I like to hear that. There's a lot of people smiling to hear that word. Now, if only the sun would warm things up just ever so slightly. But ice is gone. I know last week we had some out on the main bay, but so are we officially open for business out there?
We are officially open. You know, I was out doing a little drive around on Tuesday evening. It was a beautiful sunny night, and that's when our anglers went in and put all the docks on the public accesses. And I'm pretty sure, I know Woodlands is in, and I think I saw that Grand Island has their docks in and ready to roll. So the last little bit of ice that was left out in Creel and Main Bay, and then there was some out in the East Bay, had been broken up enough by the wind that it pretty much went away, and we're ready and rocking and rolling for the upcoming open water season.
I did see at Woodland Resort, I saw their photos of people with the waders on out in the water trying to make sure everything was settled in. So I'm glad to hear that we are rolling. Spring just needs to catch up to where you guys are now is what I'm hearing of warming up a little bit. I know down here we're supposed to get a little bit more moisture than up there, but certainly it sounds like it's going to be one of those weekends. If you haven't got anything going on, get on up there, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm looking at a Facebook post right now that happened earlier today of eight guys. I have no idea if they're all 8 guys. Gals, I'm sorry if you were part of this as well. They all limit on walleyes on a hard day's work. They claim. I don't know if it was that hard, but I bring that up because there's a table full of walleye. That means they're up there biting.
They are. You know, the shore fish and bite is just getting going right now. You know, with the amount of water that's coming into the system, it's something that we've kind of been waiting for a few years. So you get this running water right before the big spawn takes place. You're going to find a lot of these walleyes concentrated in those current areas, whether it's a submerged bridge that used to be there or a road ditch with a culvert. But yeah, I've heard a lot of great success stories this week that the fishing is definitely starting to pick up with some of these warmer days. And later afternoon, like we've always said this time of year, seems to be the best time to get out there just because 2 degrees or even a degree warmer of a surface temp seems to jumpstart that bite even that much more.
So what are they appetizing for? I mean, what are we using? What are we dropping down that's getting when people are limiting out in an 8-person crew to what do they use, do you think?
So this time of the year, one of my favorite ways to tackle this place, especially from shore, is just a simple jig and plastic paddle tail or twister tail on there. Usually a 1/4 ounce size. It's fairly, it's not too heavy, but it's also not too light. So you get the windy conditions. You can keep that a little bit better contact with bottom. And if you're out in a boat and you're jigging vertical, I mean, twister tails and stuff will still work, but don't be afraid to try live bait, especially if it's, some of these fronts you move through with minnows on there. But kind of the 1-2 punch. And then also, your various crankbait styles like shad wraps and countdowns and your flicker shads in a 5 or 7 size work wonders pitching these shorelines this time of year as well.
I hope you're all writing that down because you just got a mouthful of what's successful. And it sounds like a lot of things. So, if you're like me, you might have luck on your side because whatever you have in that tackle box might work this time of year up on Devil's Lake. Tanner, I know that you've got tournaments spring. We talk about the chamber event. Are there things that general public might want to keep in mind aside from just, hey, if you're booking, now's the time? Are there events you want to tell them, get this on your calendar and maybe get your registration in?
Yeah, we've got Devil's Run coming up here the end of this month, which is always a great car show. We have a huge turnout for that. So if you're into classic cars, awesome time to come up and partake in all the events or just even come see Saturday, Sunday with the cars in the park, what's out there. End of June is going to be our, big chamber walleye fishing tournament. Always an awesome turnout. We had you out there last year. You kind of got to see the spectacle, even though we had some hit and miss weather. And then in July,
biggest rain biggest rain Devil's Lake had all year was that day for the chamber that Friday afternoon. We survived.
It sure was.
Yeah.
It sure was. And then the other one I just want to put out there too. We have our rib fest coming up in July too, which is going to be another great event. So all of those are right on our event calendar at devilslakend.com if you want to look at more specific dates and things like that. But a lot of other things going on in this community outside of just the fishing itself.
Yeah, there's a lot going on up there, and it seems like there's more and more every year. Devil's Run, one of those things that pulls people in from all over the state and or not nation, but at least the region as well. I know our very own Dan Michaels pretty much doesn't miss it, makes it a point to get on up there to take that in as well. Tanner, I appreciate it, man. Anything else before I let you go?
Like I said, the docks are in. The other thing is just we're starting to get our outside fishing stations online as we speak. So hopefully by the end of this week and beginning of early next week, we should have all those de-winterized and up and running for the season, but we still have our year-round fish cleaning station just south of town on Highway 20 to utilize until then.
Very good. Tanner, until next week, you take care. We'll chat again then, all right?
You too, Tyler.
All right, appreciate it. Tanner Cherney, Devil's Lake Tourism. You can go to devilsLakeND.com. Check out all the latest when it comes to events, those fishing reports. Oh, and if you're thinking about spring and summer vacations, you do not want to wait to book your stays. At Ackerman's, at Woodland, at any place, Graham's Island, there's a number of places you can go up there. Moonlit Bay, I had the opportunity to go up there once last year. Beautiful. There's a lot of places. You got to check them out. You can do so at devilsLakeND.com. Get you caught up with this KF Joe weather report. That's Too Tall Tom Szymanski. We'll come back and wrap up hour number 2 of Afternoons Live on a Thursday afternoon right after this. for whatever team. I don't care if you're a Packer fan, Vikings fan, or a Panthers fan. So here's where a fact checker comes in, because this is a thing of beauty, and they admitted it on Twitter. You've got a page that just went up in May of 2022 that was called NFL Schedule Leaks. Quickly, they put out schedules of, hey, on week 1, this team's taking on that team, and they went about this, and they just laid out all this only to have people with that little blue check mark that, they're official, right? They've got cred. Well, they started retweeting this, saying, hey, look, on week 1, you've got Cleveland doing this. You've got Minnesota Vikings are doing a Thursday night here. Only to have this person say, after they did all of that, accumulated 10,000 followers, saying, guess who just got 10,000 followers by literally making up a bunch of NFL games because I was bored and faking out almost the entire football Twitter landscape? This guy. It's like, you guys really do believe everything you see online. All of that from the NFL schedule leaks, not true. So if you get your hopes up for whatever week and it was from that account, it was all made up. There's your fact checker at 4. When we come back after CBS News, we'll check back in with KFGO News, get your local headlines. Then it's Audibles. That's brought to you by Don's Car Wash. This week's contestants, Abby Miller, Rusty Halverson, Matt English, Madison Quinn, myself, I'm Tyler Axis. This is Afternoons Live, and you are listening to 790 AM, 94.1 and 104.7 FM, KFGO. Of Audibles, that is brought to you by Don's Car Wash. You can put a smile on your car and on your face if you choose correctly who wins this week's game. Madison Quinn from our KFGO News team is in studio. Hi, Madison. There you go.
Good to be back.
You still sore from Monday?
Yeah, I'm feeling it still. Like it's wearing off, but
yeah, my shoulders. It's pathetic how sore I am from the affiliates day.
They could use us today, actually, maybe.
Yeah, it's not like 3-0. Twins are losing in the second game after losing 11-3 after last night's game. Rusty Hoverson's back.
You've been at that plate, both of you guys.
Yeah. Didn't look as bad, but didn't look as good either. Rusty Alverson's part of our farm and ranch team. Abby Miller, last week's winner, producer, News and Views.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
You want to rub it in a little bit before we get real serious here?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't want to brag too much, but I did really well last week.
This is why people
I came
for you.
Comeback City and hoping for another win. And Matt's gone, so
I think Matt's physically in the building. He's just being a slacker right now.
He's late, even though we start at 4:10.
Yeah, right. We'll get him into the studio. Matt English, part of 740 The Fan, our sister station. Me, I'm Tyler Axes. You text in the first name of who you think's going to win to 35270. Be listening. Audible is brought to you by Don's Car Wash right after this.
KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy now. It's 70 degrees. I'm Paul Jurgens. Severe storms brought damaging winds, heavy rain, and tornadoes to Minnesota last night, where a storm-chasing meteorologist died in a crash that was caused by downed power lines. The wreck on I-90 in southwest Minnesota killed Martha Llanos Rodriguez of Mexico City when a car in which she was riding attempted to avoid the power lines on the interstate and was struck by a semi. 3 others in the vehicle, including a Chilean meteorologist, were injured. He says he and the other 3 weather specialists came to know each other through professional conferences and courses. Fire late last night has displaced 28 people from a 12-unit multi-story apartment in South Fargo, 605 11th Street South. Those flames were shooting through the roof when crews first arrived just after 11. They hit the fire from the outside using a ladder truck, putting out the fire from the roof. Other firefighters are inside working. Battalion Chief Joe Mansion says it took nearly an hour to get that fire out. The cause has not been determined, but Mansion says the fire started in the upper southeast corner of the building. All of the tenants evacuated safely. Firefighters were able to save 8 cats from those apartments. A lightning strike likely started a large house fire in Detroit Lakes last evening. It was on the south side of Big Detroit. Fire Chief Ryan Swanson says the home in the Timber Creek neighborhood was struck by lightning around 6. Soon after, the roof was engulfed in flames. Witnesses were able to see flames from across Big Detroit Lake as fire crews battled that blaze. Swanson says no one was home at the time. The home is considered a total loss. Firefighters from the North Dakota Forest Service have been helping battle wildfires in New Mexico. The blaze is far from contained. Forest Service Fire Manager Ryan Moline says the response is part of a mutual aid agreement with other states.
Those guys have been down there for almost 21 days. They're going to fly home for 2 days and then fly back and resume the shift. And then we're going to, as our employment ramps up here with our staff coming back in, we're going to send another truck down there probably, and then they will do the same thing. So they'll be on a 21-day rotation.
The North Dakota Forest Service initially sent 2 fire trucks and a crew of 6 to New Mexico. Flood watch until midnight. Variable cloudiness this afternoon. We expect to see some showers and thunderstorms develop late afternoon or this evening. We may see some areas of heavy rain and strong to severe thunderstorms. Eventual clearing, windy though, 54 for the overnight low. Tomorrow, windy, partly sunny, 70. Cooler for Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny, slight chance of light showers for the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. 66 Saturday, 64 the high on Sunday. 70 now, Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
I try to be as honest with all of you as possible from 2 to 5. And this time will be no different. A lot of you have a lot of confidence in me today. That means you have not been listening to the first hour of the show.
There was a little stutter right there.
Yes. You have days in which my tongue will not get out of the way of my words.
Yeah.
I cannot get things together. but they have confidence.
Do you want me to
let
guest host with you?
Guest host, yeah. Please enlighten us with your opinions. For example, you got dilly bars in front of you. Which one do you go with?
Oh, so top pick is actually butterscotch.
Agreed.
Close second that I recently tasted was Heath.
What do you mean you recently tasted?
I recently tried it a few weeks ago.
Like you
First time ever.
First time?
First
Wow.
time Heath dilly bar.
Wow. Okay.
It was really good. I was surprised.
So you got, so is that number 2?
Yeah, and then chocolate's getting third. Cherry will get like 74.
You have to be in a mood for cherry.
Yeah.
Is there
if that's your top pick for dilly bar, you're wrong.
If you want to vote for Abby, 35270. She's feisty today. Rusty Alverson's back here.
She classes it up.
She does.
Rusty, what's your dilly bar flavor?
And you wanted to be my co-host?
Yeah, you passing it along to me.
Right?
No.
That's why I'm talking to all of you.
I'm just
eye
vanilla.
contact.
I'm vanilla. Yeah.
Well, they're all.
I mean, they all have vanilla on the inside.
Yeah.
They have a nice coating on the outside. We're talking dilly bars, you're aware, right?
Chocolate.
Live life
Oh, is
adventurously.
this on?
Yes. Matt English shows up. Hi, Matt.
Hello. I'm with Rusty. I like chocolate coating. Mhm.
Yeah. With vanilla ice cream.
You basic
Yes.
fellows. Madison Quinn news.
Butterscotch.
Oh, there we go. Tyler.
Keith. You got to have that crunch to it.
Eric?
That's why I'm shocked.
I was going to say cherry just to see how it goes over. But
Just to say that you're wrong.
Eric Johnson, he's producer of news. Or no, what?
Oh!
hey, we're all upgrading
Yeah,
around
he's
here.
getting demotion. You can start taking the mornings.
That's too early. That's too early for
this
me.
This is a train wreck of a day already. You put together audibles for
Well,
Afternoons Live.
Will we allow the texters to vote again?
Yeah.
They've
If
already
you want to scratch Tyler and send back in another name, I completely understand today.
All right. Well, it is that time, guys. It is Audibles here on Afternoons Live. I've got 5 categories over here with 4 pieces of audio in each category. We do scaled scoring. If you can identify the correct answer on the first piece of audio, you get 4 points. Second piece, 3 points, and so on. Abby won last week, so she will get to select the first category. After that, whoever gets the correct answer will select the next category. You'll ring in with your name. That's how I'll determine who gets to go first. And if you answer incorrectly in any category, you're eliminated for the rest of that one. Back in on the next one. Standard 5, Abby, would you like song, actor, movie, TV show, or character?
Song, please.
Song, audio clip, number 1. Song, audio clip, number 2.
In your head.
Matt.
Zombie by the Cranberries.
I know where your head was, but
No
that's
idea.
why I'm like, that's too simple.
Matt,
I was
eliminated
there
from the
with you,
rest
Matt. I was
of the
there.
song
I was there, too.
category.
I know you were.
Yeah.
We will move on to song, audio clip, number 3.
Something won't shut the light. Heavy thoughts tonight.
Song, audio clip, number 4.
Tyler.
Tyler.
Enter Sandman.
That is correct.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
only clear the last one.
I
Yeah,
know
the
that
last
was
one.
well because we were doing
I was
a
with
piano
Matt.
bar.
Zombie.
I heard it in
Interesting.
your head.
That first one was a bop though. Oof.
Little smooth
Ooh,
jazz
yeah.
rendition of Enter
I,
Sandman.
Loving it.
I almost followed
Love
Matt.
it.
I was gonna go with Zombie. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
hold.
I had the
hold
name of the
fire.
band, but not the song. And then Matt
Cranberries.
said it, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Tyler on the board with 1 point. 4 categories remaining. Tyler, would you like actor, movie, TV show, or character?
Movie, please.
Movie, audio clip, number 1.
Oh, shut up, Fred. Shut your big fat mouth. You don't buy it all at once. It's called layaway.
Layaway schmayaway.
Yes, layaway. Something you wouldn't know anything about, you cheapskate.
Movie, audio clip, number 2.
You know, it's a good thing your friends are Barbies. Because if you weren't, I would never talk to you.
Movie, audio clip, number 3.
170, 180, 187.
Tyler.
Tyler.
Where did you get this stuff?
Blow.
That is correct.
What? Never even
Johnny
heard of that.
Depp. It's a great movie.
Heard of it.
Johnny Depp playing it's a biopic about one of the
Johnny
biggest
Depp.
cocaine.
You've been following that trial, haven't you?
Not as much as I would like to, actually.
Oh, really? Because I
would
seen
like
more
to
than I
follow
ever
it more.
cared to.
Yeah, but
it's
I-
everywhere, isn't it?
I need to do my own research, Tyler.
Well, if you were listening to our fact checker for yesterday, Amber Heard was not sniffing cocaine.
Oh,
on
I
the
saw
stand.
that.
I could have bet.
Oh.
It
Are we
looked like
sure,
it.
though?
It was some clever editing.
It was
but-
yes, fact checked it. Yeah, so I did my research for you.
Thank you.
All right, now Tyler out to a 3-point lead, but still 3 categories remaining. Tyler, actor, TV show, or character?
Oh, character, please.
Character, audio clip, number 1.
Oh, like I do? All right. I'll bet £1. Then you will not accept my wager.
Character, audio clip, number 2.
Just to help you settle a score, Zhao killed 3 of your men. You get me into North Korea, I'll take care of
Madison.
Madison.
James Bond.
That is correct.
Pierce Brosnan.
That's
and I
who
just
that was.
guessed. I just guessed.
Good job.
Indeed. Madison ties it up with 2 categories remaining. Madison, would you like actor or TV show?
Actor.
Actor, audio clip, number 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an additional award tonight, fellow book fairies.
Madison.
An award for most eminent.
Madison.
Tom Hanks.
Yep, it is.
That is correct.
I thought it was Gary Oldman
I
right away,
just
but-
got there.
All right. Well, that will eliminate all of the rooms save Tyler.
It's okay. It's not my week.
Tyler needs to get all 4 points for the tie. And we'll move on to the tiebreaker. Final category. Now, if anyone else gets it right, Madison is the winner. So it's everybody against Tyler.
Just be quiet, everyone. All right.
I appreciate y'all making eye contact with me here. I don't know if it was a, hey, I got your back, I'm stepping aside, or
Yeah, no.
to hell with you.
The text club is right.
Final category, TV show, audio clip, number 1.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, last night I did too. Really? That's so funny. He's here right now.
Tyler.
That
70s show.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine?
Grey's Anatomy. Is it Grey's Anatomy?
No.
You didn't say your name.
I know, but I'm just. I can't. I mean,
That will lock it up, but we will play it out for funsies and points and records.
Pointsies.
TV show, audio clip, number 2.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. I'm so sorry that I didn't want your rather bulbous head struggling to find its way through the normal-sized
Rusty.
knuckle of my
Rusty.
Is it the Jerry Seinfeld show?
I mean, no.
That is correct.
I mean, he got, the word was
Or
in there.
more popularly known as
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
Interesting.
That's the full title.
Good job, Madison.
We'll give that one to Rusty.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
give it to Rusty.
Rusty on the board.
Too detailed in his answer.
Do you have a middle name, Rusty?
Jerry Lee Lewis Seinfeld.
Madison pulls
All right.
it off.
All
Good
right.
job, Maddie.
Round of
Clap
applause.
for
Round of applause, everybody.
Yeah, actually, no one else has clapped before Madison besides Madison.
Unfortunately for him, there's a video evidence
No,
of
I know.
who was clapping.
Round of applause.
That's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Hooray
Hey, Matt
for
clapped.
me.
Matt clapped.
And
I
Hard to
clapped.
Be Humble is my song?
We're going to maybe have to mix up the songs a little bit, but I don't know if everybody's song can be Hard to Be Humble, except Rusty can have his own song. But
Thanks.
I like my
It's gonna be
Jonas
a while.
Brothers.
You like your Jonas?
Wait, we
Well, I
get
thought it was Harry
songs?
Styles. I thought,
I didn't know we got songs.
yeah. What?
you picked out your song.
Yeah.
No,
I?
Eric,
Yeah,
you
you
just
did.
found mine, which
I don't remember.
I asked you, and you picked it out when
Oh.
you started
Give
playing
us
regular.
a sample here. What is it? You went with James Taylor?
Did I, Eric?
Yes, you did.
how is this a victory song?
I mean,
Certainly
I don't
feels
remember saying this to you.
Are you
at all.
making this
But
up?
you know
I'm
what?
not making this
No,
up.
I believe
he
it.
was
That
in
seems
here
like a
when we
Madison
decided
thing.
he was going to be a semi-regular to full
He
regular
looks like he is
contestant.
the first time hearing James Taylor.
No,
right
no,
now.
I love James Taylor. It's a great song, but you know what? We got to keep it now, right?
It's not really a victory song.
I know,
How
but
sweet it is.
And yeah,
it's sweet.
I'm sorry, the
To be
Jonas
loved
Brothers.
by the Tex Club. There.
Yeah, the Jonas Brothers.
What
The
song
song
is
is cool. I'm feeling so cool. Top to the bottom, just cool.
I
Is
honestly.
that the lyrics?
Yeah.
Boy, how music has fallen from
We're gonna-
graces.
We're gonna change the lyrics to how sweet it is to be loved by the Tex Club. So
Okay, well,
No,
that's
there
our
you go.
sentiment.
one of you that texted in, Madison.
Can you remake it?
Do you want to go do
Text
that?
Club.
We'll get one
I'll
of
call
you.
James.
Are going to get a text back from me at 35270 if you chose Madison because you just won the car wash from Don's. Matt, thank you. I was there with you.
I know. Well, and I knew Tom
Zombie.
Hanks too. And it's like, wait, what category are we doing again?
know.
Are we a character?
I feel like we're weird today.
Yeah, it's cloudy, it's crappy, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Abby, thanks for coming in.
Anytime.
Rusty, you got on the board.
Hey, I answered something.
Dang proud of you.
Not really correctly, but kind of correctly.
Good enough. All right, we'll get you caught up with some of these messages. And when we come back, well, I'll get you some of these text club that you've been sending in all day at 35270. Then we'll get you caught up with KFJO News next. This final half hour, it's you, me, and this microphone, your cell phone. It says we did for party yesterday. Whatever you want to get off of your chest, now is going to be your chance. We'll get you this weather update as well. We do know that in South Dakota, I've been following along with the National Weather Service out of Sioux Falls. They've been under a watch down there for a tornado, and it looks like that system, well, she's built. And we'll be getting all the latest. I'd encourage you, as we've been telling you all throughout the last week, Too Tall Tom, the best in the biz, keep it locked in here. Whether it's in this next break when he's going to give you just the latest or into your evening hours. We'll break in when we need to get you all the latest weather information because it looks like this part of the woods, well, we might have an eventful night. So I'd encourage you, keep it locked in. Also follow us on Facebook for all the latest information there as well. Tomorrow's show, we got a full lineup, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later on. We'll check to see what's coming up on the Drive Time News with Jack Sunday as well. There's one thing I hope he talks about, because I just know that he's a fanatic when it comes to space. But the first black hole was imaged at the center of the Milky Way. We'll see what his thoughts are on that, how giddy he was as well. But a couple of other things that are going on. Of course, we've got a mayoral debate Fargo City Commission debate on Saturday. We're going to be there at the sanctuary. You're all invited if you want to attend in person, or you can listen right here on 790 AM 94.1 and 104.7 FM KFGO. There's 15 candidates. We're doing 2 debates because no way we can get through all of them on one debate. So we're going to have the first one at 11 o'clock. We'll have a half-hour intermission. Joel Heidkamp and a couple of special guests to get you caught up on what they heard in the first one, what they want to hear in the second one, and just a good, positive way to get to know your candidates. That's going to be this Saturday, Sanctuary Event Center. We'll tell you more about that in the final half hour as well, and whatever you want to talk about at 237-5948, Laney Studio Line. I already told you the text club again, 35270. I'm Tyler Axis. This is a Thursday edition of Afternoons Live. We're rolling on right here on KFGO.
News and weather this hour brought to you by Muscatel Pre-Owned. Muscatel's was voted #1 by localsloveus.com for good reason. So stop in today to Muscatel Pre-Owned, just off of Exit 1 in Moorhead.
Mostly cloudy, Fargo-Moorhead, 69 degrees. I'm Paul Juergens. Detroit Lakes Fire Chief Ryan Swanson says he's confident a lightning strike started a fire last night that caused major damage to a home in the Timber Creek development on the south side of Big Detroit Lake. No one was home when that fire started. Firefighters responded after a neighbor reported seeing smoke coming from the home shortly after 6.
Units arrived on scene. We tried to go in and start pulling some ceiling to get up into the attic space to locate the fire. Once the ceiling was exposed, we we realized that the entire attic void space was fully involved. Shortly thereafter, the fire did breach through the roof line, and we had to work more exterior than interior.
Swanson says firefighters are somewhat hampered by the weather, unable to use their aerial truck to get at the roof fire due to the danger from lightning. The state fire marshal's office will try to determine what lightning strikes hit that area to confirm the cause. Another neighbor reported nearly all the circuit breakers in his home tripped during the storm, more than likely from a lightning strike. Severe storms brought damaging winds, heavy rain, and tornadoes to Minnesota, where a storm-chasing meteorologist died in a crash last night that was caused by downed power lines. The wreck on I-90 in southwest Minnesota killed Martha Llanos Rodriguez of Mexico City when a car in which she was riding attempted to avoid the power lines in the interstate and was struck by a semi. 69, this is KFGO News. '69, mostly cloudy. This is KFGO News. A former teacher at Moorhead Alternative Learning Center is jailed in Fargo on child pornography charges. 25-year-old Caleb Brush of Fargo was arrested earlier this month and has been charged with 2 felonies in Cass County District Court. Police in Fargo were tipped off that Brush had shared a number of child porn images through the Kick app last June. Minnesota Republican faithful will be in Rochester for the party state convention. It begins tomorrow.
The most high-profile task is to endorse a candidate for governor, but many analysts agree that with such a large field, no endorsement is a significant possibility. Hamline University professor David Schultz says Scott Jensen and Paul Gazelka are probably the leading contenders.
But I say that with a lot of reservation because it doesn't really look like any of the candidates have really broken away in terms of really capturing, let's say, the excitement of the delegates.
Schultz says even if the state GOP convention does endorse a candidate for governor, the battle between Republican hopefuls will likely continue right through the August 9th primary election.
KFGO News political reporter Bill Werner. A baby fox is tested positive for bird flu in Minnesota, the first confirmed case in a wild mammal in the state. The DNR says the kit found in Anoka County died, as did 2 red fox kits in Ontario, Canada, who tested positive for the avian flu last week. The University of Minnesota Veterinary Diagnostic Lab alerted the DNR, which monitors the health of the state's wildlife. The National Veterinary Services Laboratory later confirmed the positive test. Fargo-Moorhead flood watch until midnight. We expect some shower and thunderstorm development late afternoon into tonight. 54 for the overnight low. Tomorrow, sunny, partly sunny, windy, with a high of 70. 66 Saturday, partly sunny, maybe some light shower activity. Also Sunday, slight chance of light showers, partly sunny, 64. 66 then Monday, mostly sunny. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy, 69 degrees. Paul Jerkins, News Radio, KFGO.
Congratulations, Wendy, for winning this week's Don's Car Wash. Put a smile on your car and on your face. Somebody had asked, tongue-in-cheek, perhaps. We have our Fargo City Commission debate at the Sanctuary Saturday, and they're wondering, will the bar be open at the debate? Can you imagine at a debate? At the back end, okay, yeah, you got your Bloody Mary bar back there. You can go have your own fixings. You can throw the bacon in. You could get your olives, your pickles, all the other necessities. Do you go with banana peppers? What do you put in your bloody?
I lean heavy meat and cheese, and then I think a little olive and pickle for the briny saltiness helps. But I don't need the banana pepper.
Okay.
I definitely don't need the celery.
Really?
Yeah.
I dig the celery. You need something to scoop the olives out with. So you got your celery stick. It's more of a utensil than it is about
That's fair.
The satisfaction of biting into a celery stick.
But yeah, I think the meat and cheese is a key component.
The cubed?
Yeah, especially
cubed
if you can
cheese?
get like a summer sausage so you can get a little of that saltiness and meatiness to leach out of it.
Yeah. It still sounds like something's missing from your bloody.
That could be. Like a...
celery salt, of course, you have that, and you have the rim. Now, here's one thing we don't want. We don't want the A1. I don't want A1 in mine.
No. Little horseradish. I like a little horseradish zip.
You want to give it one more try?
Horse radish.
Very good. Okay.
Just got to slow it down.
Go ahead. You finish your recipe.
A little of that. Some, as you said, celery salt. I mean, obviously tomato juice heavy. A little bit of pickle juice for the brininess, as I said.
Juice.
And honestly, I don't know that you need much more than that. Really.
Send in what you would put in your Bloody Mary. 35270. We'll take that after we get you caught up with CBS National News, final half hour, whatever you want to talk about. I'm here for you. I'm Tyler Axis, and you got locked into KF2 Fargo. Get your pen and paper out. I'd ask, okay, you're making me a Bloody Mary. What are you throwing in there? This is a good start. Tyler, Bloody Mary. Chili powder. Okay, got me nodding my head. Celery salt, a must. Salt and pepper, of course. Tabasco, yeah, now we're talking. Lime juice, a necessity. Worcestershire sauce is something that I forgot to throw in before the break. You're absolutely right. You need the Worcestershire. And here's where you really won me over, Texter. Not just some good old-fashioned green olives. You stuffed those bad boys with garlic. The garlic stuffed olives, boom, a thing of beauty. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, the garlic's nice. I also forgot Worcestershire.
Yeah, that's a must. And I almost had Worcestershire when I was trying to say there's the one thing because they looked the same to me, same bottle almost. Yeah. Don't do the A1. Give the Tabasco. That's where you and I connect.
I will say Bloodies is one of the cocktails that I never really got to learn how to make well working at a bar because we had a master chef making our mix
the
from
actual
scratch.
Mix, which is
right.
Yeah.
So I never had to piece it together myself because it was already as close to perfect as you could get.
Here's another question for you as listeners out there. You can go to the store, and it doesn't have to be the liquor store. You can go to Walmart or your grocery store, and you can see your Bloody Mary mix. Which one are you going? They have what is it, Zing Zang?
Yeah, Zing Zang is one of the big ones.
Yeah, and that one's okay. I want one of those mixes that you're talking about to where, it's just, I'm not making it myself because I'm lazy. I told you I'm an honest man with you, and I'm too lazy to make my own Bloody Mary mix. Which one do you recommend? 35270. That one, the red label, you see it everywhere. It's big. It's like the name, right? You think about Kleenex being the name of your face tissues. There's got to be something better out there though than that.
Yeah, I've dabbled in a few of the locally made ones. When I see them, I'll grab them there. And there's some good ones. It's tough though because you got to buy a full bottle of it
to try it.
I know
that's you can go to a liquor store and they'll have your beer samples. Hey, you know what? We got the distributor in. Here's your A, B, C, and D. Do that with a Bloody Mary mix. I'll be all in on that. All right, Tyler, for me, it's pepper, horseradish, Worcestershire sauce, pickle. Got to do the pickle, olive juice, and instead of vodka, Jameson. Okay, I'm going to ask my bartending producer back here. Is it a Bloody Mary if you're not using vodka and instead you go with Jameson? Or is that something different?
So I believe there are different names for them if you put different liquors in them.
Okay.
We always just called it a whiskey Bloody Mary. And it actually is surprisingly good. I've had a few of them. It wouldn't be my go-to all the time because part of the beauty of vodka is it doesn't really taste like anything.
Correct.
But
that's the danger in it.
Yeah, as a change of pace, putting whiskey instead of vodka in your Bloody is actually pretty tasty.
For the person that got this conversation started by asking if there's going to be a Bloody Mary bar or a bar open at the Sanctuary Event Center, we're not getting your hopes up. The answer is no. I already checked. I checked with the people in charge of it, and they said, good idea, but probably not. I'm going to get to the phone lines and visit with Joyce. Joyce, how are you this Thursday afternoon?
Well, I just had one more ingredient for your homemade mix.
Okay, what you got for me?
Horseradish.
Horseradish, it's a must. You're absolutely right, Joyce. Which is it the real spicy stuff? Where do you go on your level of horseradish?
Well, it's by taste, and just take a little bit and try it, a little bit and try it. You'll figure out what you like. Not too much, but it just fixes it up good.
Joyce,
okay?
Hey, thank you. I appreciate your phone call and your advice. Joyce is piling on with all of you, saying it's got to be the Worcestershire, but you got to have the beauty of the horseradish. Spice it up a little bit.
Yeah,
there's a big variety in horseradish. That's why I asked the question.
And the nice thing is it gives you a different style of heat than Tabasco or your favorite hot sauce.
All right, I'd asked. Zing Zang comes in. I'm throwing that one aside. I've already done the Zing Zang more than Mr. and Mrs. T's. Now, is that Mr. T? Like Pity the Fool? Does he have his own Bloody Mary mix? Because that would be news to me.
I think it's a separate entity, but it would be excellent if it was. Or it's a perfect marketing opportunity.
Yeah, right. Well, as long as I get my cut, that's all I care about. Rusty Anchor Bloody Mix. Never heard of that one. Tiger Sauce, another one. Okay, I'm writing these down. Cozy's Bloody Caesar, local made and at liquor stores. Cozy's. Okay. Keep them coming in. I want something different besides what I can just go get. Now, no offense to the big box stores, but I want something that's a little different than just your zing-zings. 35270. Keep sending them in. I'll keep getting those, and I'll create a little list for us all. Get you this latest weather update. Pay attention to Tall Tommy's the best in the biz when it comes to your forecast. And, well, he's got a lot of information that he needs to share with you, so I'm going to step out of the way, allow him to do that, and encourage you one more time. Keep it locked in throughout your evening because that's when things might get eventful, and we'll be the first to tell you about that right here on 790 AM, 94.1 and 104.7 FM, KFGO. Show, yeah, it's Friday, and I will have our usuals. We'll be visiting with Eric Rapp from FargoUnderground.com, brought to you by the Boiler Room, so $25 on a gift card to the Boiler Room. Going to be in one of your pockets by the end of this weekend. But also, the Minnesota Republican Convention starts tomorrow. We're going to be giving you some of the coverage down in Rochester, and that's brought to you by Welton's Tire Service. I want to thank them. As we did in North Dakota, we had both political parties' convention. The Republican convention in Minnesota, though, be contested. I mean, you can already hear in our conversations with Bill Werner, with other people that are observers of Minnesota politics, the process to try to get the endorsement for the Republican gubernatorial race, well, things are heating up. And you've got some, quite frankly, well-known names in there, and then you have some newcomers, and it's kind of all up in the air. There's a Scott Jensen who used to be a state senator who's a doctor who, quite frankly, had questions about his comments on COVID-19 and what should be done and what should not be done and how, people are being asked to do things that he didn't agree with. Well, I think, quite frankly, he's the front runner. I do believe that he's going to be on these very airwaves tomorrow to give you kind of why he's running. Now, last year at this time, I would have said, boy, Governor Walz is in quite a bit of danger, politically speaking, because of everything that was going on down in the cities, because of the COVID-19, the same thing that we're talking about with the Scott Jensen. But out here in the rural parts of Minnesota, you could hear the anger. I could read it when you texted in. The variable that has now gone out in all of this is the leak of that Supreme Court decision. In this midterm and what that does, because now all of a sudden people are looking at states, state legislatures, and governors. Because if, in fact, that draft opinion becomes the decision from the Supreme Court, all of a sudden your governor's races are going to have a whole new spotlight on for an issue that, quite frankly, hadn't been the case for a very, very, very long time. But we'll be covering the Republican convention tomorrow. Again, thanks, Welton's Tire Service. Today, though, you got the Drive Time News coming up right around the corner. Jack Sunday pops in studio.
Hi.
Hey, man.
Good to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm thinking about, I think the Twins are getting beat.
They are.
At this point. I'm not sure what the score is, but I think what I'm going to do at the end of the Drive Time News is go home and take a nap for 2 hours and then get up so I can listen to the hockey game.
Yeah, what's a puck drop at like 10 o'clock?
No.
It feels like it's just
I think it's 8:30, but
it's just late. Too dang late.
Yeah, and that'll I think we're carrying that tonight, aren't we?
That is a great question. I know that the Twins are playing, as you say, right now, but I see Couch Potato Radio. Derek Hansel give us.
Am I mistaken? Aren't the Wild playing tonight?
Yeah, the Wild are playing tonight.
Okay.
I have no idea if it's here on KFG or 740 The Fan is the only question. This is a must-win, clearly, elimination game. So
what we have coming up on the Drive Time News, and I hope you, if you haven't, will make it a habit to listen on the drive home. We start out with our CBS News, and then Too Tall Tom Szymanski joins us, Paul Juergens with our award-winning KFGO News, and Paul Leintz with our traffic. We have sports today again, of course, and we're going to talk with North Dakota Ag Weather Network person, Daryl Richardson, who is he was a very good TV meteorologist too when he did that.
Oh yeah.
And he and everyone in the profession defers to him. I mean,
nobody questions.
Well, no, I've never heard anybody in real life or in the profession, say, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about," because, well, anyway, we're going to talk about the weather that's coming in and how it's impacting people, life on the farm.
I know,
and we do that not because we're not very aware that a lot of people listening to us are farmers, and you know all about it because you're living it, and but I think it's interesting to refresh the memory of the city slickers.
What starts on the farm ends up on your table most times, so that's why it's important for all of you to learn a little bit more, and that's all coming up on the Drive Time News with Jack Sunday. All these Bloody Mary mix recipes coming in. I appreciate it. Didn't get to all of them on air, but I got them all written down. Folks, that's it for me today. I'm Tyler Axis, your host here on Afternoons Live. I will be back tomorrow, the Friday edition, Rock Request Friday, that is. Till then, you drive safe, take care of yourselves. I'll check in tomorrow right here on KFGO.